In 1929, thousands of Igbo and Ibibio women in southeastern Nigeria rose up against British colonial rule in what became known as the Aba Women's War, or more accurately, the Women's Revolt. Armed not with guns, but with voices, songs, and overwhelming unity, these women protested against colonial taxation, the erosion of traditional authority, and the exploitation of their people. It was one of the first major anti-colonial uprisings in West Africa, and it shook the British Empire to its core. Before the British came, women in Igbo and Ibibio societies held powerful roles. They were traders, farmers, spiritual leaders, and decision-makers through systems like Umwada, Daughters of the Land, and Otu, women's councils. They had a voice. But the British didn't understand this. With indirect rule, the British imposed warrant chiefs, many of whom were corrupt and unaccountable to the people. These chiefs began issuing unfair judgments and collecting excessive taxes. Then came the final insult. Rumors spread that women would soon be taxed, something unheard of before. In the small town of Aloko, a woman named Nwanurowa had a heated argument with a tax official. When he asked her to count her livestock and household members, she replied, "Was your mother counted?" This act of defiance ignited a wildfire. Women from neighboring towns gathered in protest. Soon, thousands joined. They came with pots, pans, songs, and fury. Using an ancient form of protest called sitting on a man, the women surrounded the homes of warrant chiefs, mocking, singing, and dancing to shame them. They demanded the end of taxation, removal of corrupt chiefs, and restoration of traditional respect. The protest spread across over 6,000 square miles in Abia, Imo, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers states. Over 10,000 women took part. Alarmed by the size and unity of the movement, British colonial troops opened fire on peaceful demonstrators in some towns. By the end, at least 50 women were killed, and many more injured. Their names live on as matters of justice. But the British were forced to back down, the tax plans were scrapped, warrant chiefs lost power, and reforms began. The Aba Women's War wasn't just a protest. It was a revolution of voices, a reminder that African women have always stood at the front lines of justice. It inspired future resistance movements and helped sow the seeds of Nigeria's independence decades later. This story shows that courage doesn't always come from weapons. Sometimes, it comes from unity, tradition, and the refusal to be silenced.